Thank you all for 2K. It's time to answer some questions. First up are some ones from those of you on Patreon. Which would be easier, fighting 10 toddlers or 10 geese? Also, what's the worst art experience you've had? I feel like I could take on 10 toddlers. Geese, I don't think geese can feel fear, and that frightens me. I haven't had that many bad experiences with art. Most of the time, if there's anything bad, it comes from bad communication between myself and whoever I'm working with. I won't name any names, but there's been one person in particular. They asked me to make a 3D model of a character and just like sent me a message asking if I could make it, and then right after that sent me a photo of the character as like a reference. I went and modeled the whole character based on that reference and sent it back to them, and they replied, "Oh, I sent you that reference because I wanted you to make it not like that. I don't want it to look like the original character." So just a giant waste of time. It wasn't that bad because I was getting paid hourly for that job, so I wasn't that angry about it because I got paid for my time. But yeah, just in general, bad communication leads to a lot of problems. What were your inspirations to do that art you do? I think a lot of my inspirations for art come from the cartoons that I watched as a kid, as well as just my friends as a kid. We were all very artsy and would draw all the time whenever we were together. Nowadays, a lot of inspiration comes from art groups that I'm a part of. I'm in a few animation discords, and even just like scrolling through Instagram for a couple minutes leads to a lot of inspiration. How do you decide when to scrap a project or when it's worth finishing? I barely ever scrap projects, just because I really like to make sure that I'm going to enjoy something before I spend a lot of time on it. Like when I do drawings, I will sketch a lot of different iterations before I pick one that I know I like. That being said, there have been a few times where I will put in a lot of effort into something and eventually realize that it's not really worth finishing it, whether I have a deadline that I'm not going to meet, or if I can just tell that I'm not going to enjoy working on it in the future, because it's really hard to spend the time on something when it's not fun for you. What software do you most use when doing animation? Probably use Unreal Engine the most out of everything. I think I spend the most time in that program just like setting up shots and setting up materials and lighting situations. So that's probably my favorite part of an animation process, but it also does take a long time to get everything set up how I like it. Marry, kill. Clown Milk Clown, Grabbin' Greg, and the Turkinator. The clown, obviously. Marry Grabbin' Greg and kill the Turkinator. Grabbin' Greg is too powerful. I don't think I could kill him, so I'd have to get on his good side. Plus, he's probably a pretty good cuddler with all of those arms. Next up are the questions from you guys on YouTube. What is your origin story? Did you take art classes or are you self-taught? I took one art class in high school, and I took one animation class, which was canceled after like 2 weeks because not enough people were in the class. Outside of that, I would pretty much just constantly be drawing and making comics during my free time. And then I went to college and I majored in virtual technology and design, where I learned pretty much everything I know now about animation and 3D stuff. You got a very unique art style. Did your style change much and quickly over time, or did it change more gradually? Have you been doing a certain thing for a long time that stuck even though the rest of your style changed? Not a whole lot has actually changed in my art style since I was a kid. I think now it just looks better because I've been doing it for so long. It feels more intentional rather than just childish. But yeah, I've pretty much always been drawing weird characters and creatures. Do you see sideways or forward? I like to think that the eyes kind of have the freedom to move around wherever they want on the head. Most of the time they're on the side of the head like a flounder because I like to keep that profile view of the nose, but I also think that the eyes look a lot better if they're touching each other. How are you, man? What's your advice for introverted artists? I'm doing pretty good. As an introverted artist myself, one of the biggest things that helped me out was making a Instagram art account, because when you have a social media account, you don't necessarily have to show your name or your face. So when I started out, it was kind of like my art existed on its own outside of my personal life, and that helped me a lot with kind of being able to continue practicing and like posting it online and getting feedback on my stuff without having it directly tied to me. I used to try very hard to separate my personal life from my art, but over the last few years I've gotten confident enough in my art abilities to kind of, like put a name to the face and associate my art with me again, and that kind of eventually turned into what's happening now, and I'm pretty happy for it. How is Patreon working out for you? Any advice for others starting out? The Patreon's doing pretty good so far. This might sound kind of mean, but I think you have to have an existing audience elsewhere before you can even start a Patreon. I think the only reason that it's been working out for me is because I had like 15,000 followers on Instagram when I made it, and I think pretty much all of my patrons are people that came from the Instagram. But yeah, I'm super thankful for everyone that's been supporting me on Patreon. It's been super fun to like make some behind the scenes work in progress stuff and post it there. One thing that I have been struggling with a little bit is that my biggest tier has a benefit where you can get a monthly commission, so get a custom doodle at the start of every month. And at the start of every month, I will message those patrons and ask them what they want for their monthly commission, and most of them don't respond. And that makes me feel bad because I don't know if they just don't want the monthly doodle or if they never get the message. I just don't want people to think that I'm ripping them off. So some of those people have stayed and some of them recently have left, but I just hope that it's not because of that reason. What programs do you use or like the most? Unreal Engine and ZBrush. Where do you get your ideas from? What are some things you like to look at / use for motivation? Always been impressed by how often you put good stuff out. Congrats on 2K. Thank you. I'm definitely kind of a workaholic when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think the main thing is that it doesn't really feel like work to me because I always have a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff. During those times where I feel like I need some extra motivation, I just think back to the days where I was working as a hay hand from 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then working construction from 9:30 to 7 p.m. And then I think to myself, yeah, I can keep doing this. This is fine. Biggest influences? Kiss's hand leaving big spit trail. When I was younger, I remember being heavily influenced by SpongeBob, The Amazing World of Gumball, and Adventure Time. I think those were some of the main shows that kind of directly affected the way I would draw stuff. I definitely drew the characters from those shows often. What's your favorite color? Pink. What do you do outside of YouTube? Right now I'm working as an assistant instructor at the University of Idaho. I'm actually teaching the classes that I took as a freshman and sophomore in the virtual technology and design program. So that's pretty cool. Next up are the questions from you guys on Instagram. PFINNEY's favorite meme. PFINNEY's favorite character he's created. I don't really have that many recurring characters, but I think Bean is one of my favorites. How is Bean doing? He's doing good. He's just been beaning it up for the last few years. He has seen many things. What is your favorite creation you've done? I think Clown Milk still holds a special place in my heart. That was like the first time that I had taken all of this stuff that I learned from my college classes and kind of applied it to a personal project. It's definitely not the best thing that I've made though. What inspired most of your humor and art style? I think nowadays my humor is a little bit too affected by memes. A lot of the time I just find really absurd things or stupid things to be funny, so that's usually what I rely on in my animations and stuff. What is your favorite frowned upon food combo? I don't really do any of the normal ones like pineapple on pizza or pickles and ice cream or any of those things. Sometimes if I want an omelet for breakfast, but I also want a bagel and cream cheese, I will make both and then just put the omelet inside the bagel. Yeah, some people find that one weird. Opinion on cheese? I eat a lot of cheese. My girlfriend says I put cheese where it doesn't belong. Once my friends gave me a block of cheese and a jug of chocolate milk for my birthday. That was a good day. Yeah, I have the diet of a child. Favorite dinosaur? Favorite thing to doodle? Faces. Not like realistic faces, but more like weird cartoonish faces with odd proportions. I think you can tell by looking at a lot of my drawings that I care a lot about the face and not so much about the rest of the character. Yeah, I really like drawing this crease between your nose and your mouth. I'm not really sure why I like that so much, but I do it all the time. Do you get lonely sometimes? Yeah, but you know, I always have the voices in my head to keep me company. If you could smell like one food for the rest of your life, what would you choose? Huckleberry milkshake. What's that smell? Huckleberry milkshake. How did you get into drawing? I can't remember ever not drawing. So I've probably been drawing since even before my brain turned on as a child. How do you still find time to work on so much with having a job? It's this little thing called having no other hobbies. I don't really play games or, you know, have friends, but I don't know, I just really enjoy making stuff, so I am pretty much always doing that outside of work. Where do you want to see yourself in the future when it comes to your work? That's a good question. I'm hoping I can develop my animations and videos in the future to a point where they're more widely watchable, I guess. They kind of appeal to a wider audience and more people can see them. This whole like internet creator thing is very appealing to me because I really enjoy it, being able to publish the stuff that I make and have literally anybody be able to see it and like give feedback on it. That's one of my favorite parts about this, is hearing your guys' feedback and your guys' comments on my videos and posts. It just makes me super happy when I know that a lot of people are enjoying the stuff that I make. I do have a lot of lofty goals for the future, one of which being making some kind of animated series. However, it is very hard to dedicate that much of my time to one project, so that's definitely something in the future, whether it's like through an external studio or maybe a Kickstarter, or the most appealing one to me would just be developing this whole, you know, YouTube, social media, Patreon thing to a point where I can kind of just do this to support myself, and then I would definitely be able to like sink in the hours into an animated series and more like longer form content. By the way, you should join the Patreon. The link is in the description. You a handsome man. Thank you. What were some of your favorite animated shows growing up and now? Growing up, I really loved to watch Cat Dog. I think that was the main one. There was also Flapjack, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Courage the Cowardly Dog, even though it gave me nightmares, Billy and Mandy, Ren and Stimpy. Do you remember that show, Mr. Meaty? Yeah, I watched that show. It probably kind of messed up my brain as a kid. Futurama was a really big one. I used to watch that all the time with one of my friends. I also just completely rewatched it with my girlfriend a few months ago. Are you a goober? Yeah, I'd say sometimes I'm a bit of a goober, a silly goof if you will. Would you rather fight 1,000 chickens or swim across a lake of lemon juice covered in cuts? Bring on the chickens. Would you purchase the limited edition Minecraft gaming chair? No. What size foot do you wear? I wear a size 15 foot. You listen, yo gorillas? Yes. How good is your eyesight? 20/20, baby. What the f do you use to draw? Paper, pens, and Photoshop. Do you like cheese balls? Not really. Can you show us your box of trinkets? Yeah, here it is. I've been watching a lot of scratch building YouTube channels like Bill Making Stuff and Studson Studios and stuff like that, and it's inspired me to start collecting garbage. And pretty soon I'm gonna try out scratch building some stuff kind of like they do, because I think it's super cool. So yeah, this main box is kind of organized into like long stuff, bendy wire kind of stuff. This one is like really unique stuff and like some old weird toy stuff and really specific shapes. Yeah, this one's all beads. Don't worry, I will make a video about this when I do try it out, which hopefully will be pretty soon. I also have a container of like circular things, a container of multiples if I want to make anything that has symmetry, and then I have this jar that my girlfriend is afraid of, labeled potentially nasty. This is basically everything that I wasn't able to like clean completely or dry off completely, so if anything gets moldy in here, I wouldn't feel bad about just throwing the whole jar away. Yeah. Would you dip your balls in hot wax for charity? I'll do it just for fun. I really like your content, man. Thank you. Would you rather lick Kirby's toes or kiss Mario's nose? Nose. I have your house address. This is a warning if you ever do what you did in '98 again. This is not a question, it is a demand. Draw Germa 985. Can you draw a pork, please? Can I have a bite? What does based mean? How'd you get started with animation? When I was little, I had an iPod Touch, and I remember downloading a stop motion app, and I would make like stop motion movies with my Legos. Sadly, I don't think I ever saved those to anything outside of the iPod, and I eventually sold it. So yeah, you'll just have to take my word for it. Put those carpet grippers away. Never. Thoughts on Berserk? Draw him with a big old nose. I've never met him, so I couldn't say. Fingers or toes? How do you stay focused? I stay focused by listening to music, definitely. I pretty much have to be listening to music if I'm working on something for a long time. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm starting to go crazy in the silence. How many toes do you have? At least 6. Why Grabbin' Greg killed the guy? Because he wanted his snacks. If you had to beat up Garfield, the orange bastard, could you do it? Yeah. Garfield's got nothing on me. Unless we're talking about the I'm Sorry John version. Does Ohio exist? Well, I've never seen it, so. Do a flip. Why you got big schnoz? Okay, so a lot of you Instagram folks had questions about the nose. I've always felt like I've had a big nose, so I've always drawn myself with a big nose. As time went on, I started drawing a lot more of my characters with like a profile side view of the face, because I really liked the silhouettes of people's faces. And as more time went on, I made my nose bigger and bigger to kind of exaggerate proportions and make it more cartoony. But it was soon brought to my attention by you guys on Instagram that it looked a lot like Zach Hadel's character, aka Psychic Pebbles. Actually, most of you Instagram followers are probably here because of that. From a reel that I made complaining about how people would compare myself and all the art that I made to Zach because of the big noses, which I was not expecting to perform very well at all. And it turned out to be the most viewed thing I have ever made, ever. Unless you count that time that Chris Pratt reposted my meme. But anyways, after that I would slowly kind of start to change the shape of the nose and the angle of the nose to try and like bring it away from Zach and other things that it was similar to. And just, you know, make it more unique. And I think that actually worked pretty well because now I get a lot less comments just spamming Zach on Instagram, so. Do you have a canon length for the pink fella's nose? No, but I don't think it ever gets shorter than like a yard nowadays. Do you prefer the term schnoz or snout? Schnoz. Is the expanded nose an evolutionary adaptation or a prosthetic? Evolutionary. I like to think that prehistoric PFINNEYs had regular sized noses and they weren't smart enough to make spears for hunting, so after like multiple generations, their noses just got longer and pointier so they can just like run into animals and kill them. Can I use your nose as a diving board, please? Yeah. Can I suck on the nose? What that nose do? It's supposed to smell, but all it does now is make boogers. If pee is stored in the balls, then what is stored in that nose of yours? Boogers. Can it get longer? Yes. Does your nose extend when you lie? No. What's up with the red fella as your profile pic? Actually, it's pink. His nose is still more similar to how I used to draw myself, just because it fits well in a circle. I actually did try to update it with the pointier nose, but it just looked wrong. There's not really a good way to make it work contained in a circle. My old logo was an OC named Butterboy, so when I updated it, I wanted to keep that yellow to kind of like grab people's attention when they saw it have like a really bright yellow. And that color pink was a really good complement to the yellow, but I didn't want to make the character yellow and the background pink because I didn't want it to look like The Simpsons. So I ended up making the background yellow and the character pink, so that's why he's pink. Why are you pink, pink man? Because white is boring. I used to draw myself as white or skin tone color, but I saw a lot of other people doing that as well. So after I updated my logo to a pink guy, I tried out making my self character pink as well, and I really liked it. So I think it really helps it stand out from a lot of the other character OC content that you see on Instagram and stuff, because as you're like scrolling through and you see that really saturated pink, it catches your eye in the same way that The Simpsons, when they started airing, it would catch your eye flipping through channels because you see a character with yellow skin and that's not normal. I also am just kind of a pink boy in general, so I think it works in that regard. HTML color code of your nose. I don't know. I usually just pick something in this area. When is the collapse of all that is known? August 15th, 2089 at 3:15 p.m. Alright, that's it. Hopefully most of your questions got answered and the fog of mystery has been lifted. Again, thank you all so much for your support, and if you want to support me even more, you can join the Patreon, link is in the description. I think I'm going to end this video by showing off some of the wonderful fan art that I've been getting recently. I'll see you guys in the next video.